another important clause in a term sheet is anti-dilution. Anti-dilution kicks in when a future fundraising round happens at a lower valuation than the previous one. Now this is called a down round. Now let's take the scenario where Zeno AI raised at a 40 crore valuation. Now 18 months later, things become tough, they have not achieved a growth or markets are tough, and a new investor wants to come in, but they would come in only at 20 crores. That's almost half the valuation. So the original investor or the seed investor paid a price based on a 40 crore valuation, but just 18 months later, the company is now valued at 20 crores and the shares are being issued at half the price. So the original investor would feel cheated. So anti-dilution would protect this and adjust the seed investors' conversion price downward, effectively giving them more shares on conversion in order to compensate them for the value that got eroded because of a down round, right? So that they don't get effectively diluted in the company. That's what anti-dilution does. Now the question around anti-dilution is how much protection should be given and how aggressively does it adjust? So typically there are two options. There is a full ratchet that is very aggressive and rare in India, but this could happen if the company is not doing well or the industry is not doing well. And most investors are likely to go for a weighted average anti-dilution adjustment. Now in a full ratchet, the investor's entire stake gets repriced to a new lower price. So if the seed investor owned 10% at rupees 40 per share, the new round would come in at rupees 20 per share. Under full ratchet, the seed investor now effectively owns 20%. So all of this dilution that would come in from the founder's equity, right? Because no other investor is going to give their shares. So it is the founders that are contributing to this anti-dilution. And yes, I know it sounds brutal, but that's how it is. Now in weighted average, it takes into account both the new price and how many new shares were issued. The adjustment is usually proportional and much fairer. The seed investor's stake might adjust from 10 to 12-13%, but not double. So your term sheet should always say broad-based weighted average anti-dilution. If an investor is asking for full ratchet, it could actually be a serious red flag. Now every investor-backed company needs an ESOP pool to attract and retain talent. But when you create that pool, kind of matters a lot. So typically there are two options. One is pre-money and second is post-money. In pre-money, the pool is set up before the investor's stake is calculated. So if you create a 10% ESOP pool pre-money, founders would go from 90% to 80% money before the investor actually enters. So investor still stays at 10% stake only and founders end up absorbing all the dilution. But in the post-money scenario, that is post-money ESOP creation, the pool is created after the investor stake is set. Now both the founders and investors would dilute proportionately. This may seem a bit fairer. Now in most early stage deals in India, investors will push for pre-money ESOP creation. So know what you are really agreeing to. If you're creating a 15% pool pre-money, that's a 15% coming directly from the founder's stake before the investment even started. Now up next is investor consent matters. This section lists everything you need the investor's written approval for. So it usually has these 10 to 14 items. Some of the key ones are new fundraising. You can't issue new shares without approval. Borrowing above a threshold needs sign-off. Any M&A or restructuring requires consent. IP transfers need approval. Key hires and fires. This is really important and a lot of founders are surprised. But if you are hiring someone at a CXO level or firing someone at a CXO level, then you need an investor approval. Also, your annual budget needs to be approved by the investor. This could also be one of the list items, which would basically decide your entire operating plan for that particular year. So yeah, this list may sound a bit scary. In a healthy relationship, most investors would turn around this quickly, or they may not have some of these items on the consent matters list. So review this list very carefully. Think about it from a worst case perspective. If things go bad, which of this can be used against you?